Hello and welcome to another episode of Inside the Boardroom. I'm your host, Mel Schaefer. Now, Ramp Metals is a grassroots exploration company focused on unlocking the potential of a new high-grade gold district in Saskatchewan. The company's flagship Rottenstone Southwest property covers over 32,000 hectares and has already yielded an exciting gold discovery of 73.55 grams per ton of gold over 7.5 meters. With permits in place and drill mobilization underway, Ramp Metals is gearing up for its next phase of exploration. Today, I'm joined by Jordan Black, CEO and Director of Ramp Metals, and Garrett Smith, VP of Exploration. Thanks so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having us on today.
So for those who might not be super familiar with Ramp Metals, can you give us kind of a general overview of the company?
Yeah, so we're a grassroots exploration play in northern Saskatchewan. We're trying to unlock a brand new potential gold district. Historically, we staked this property because it was southwest of the old Rottenstone mine. Originally, we were looking for battery metals, nickel, copper, PGEs, because we were downtrend of the old Rottenstone mine, which historically produced some of the highest grade nickel in the country at the time. And little did we know we'd find gold on the property.
So Ramp Metals is a grassroots company. Can you tell me a little bit about how it all got started?
Yeah, so I met Garrett about, I think it was almost 2.5 years ago now. They had a dream of prospecting in an area where no one's really walked on before, true grassroots, no drill holes. And they had this interesting signature downtrend of the old Rottenstone mine. So the old Rottenstone mine produced some of the highest grade nickel, copper, and PGs in the country back in like the 70s. And they followed that downtrend to this interesting signature that looked like an eye structure. And when I was talking to Garrett, he was like, I was always following Mark Bennett's project, Serious Resources, out in Australia. So it was on the other side of the world, but this signature, this geosignature looked very similar. It had similar conductors in the middle of the eye structure, and it even trended in the same direction, which doesn't mean much because it's on the other side of the world, but it was just very interesting. So Garrett and I, at the time, nickel was actually going to all-time highs. Essentially, the LME exchange got halted because of the short squeeze. So we raised a little bit of funding to do geophysics. And our big thing was raising money and putting it directly in the ground. And we even did things unconventionally where we flew geophysics before even prospecting or walking on the site. And that allowed us to have these drill targets, which eventually turned into the gold discovery. And
I definitely think prospecting is important for sure. But just with the size of the property and how everything's covered in trees, everything's under cover of till. I find it's very important to just, bite the bullet and fly the geophysics first, because that really narrows down your areas of where you're going to look for. And it's just a personal view of mine that I almost feel like academics has crept too far into exploration at times. So I find a lot of companies spend so much money, just kicking dirt up top and not really knowing. And with the nickel copper targets that we were going after originally, generally you're going after these conductive bodies. So if that conductive body doesn't start till 50 or 100 meters below surface, you can do all the surface stuff you want, and you're really not going to know until you punch a hole into it. So with how far out we are, we could have easily spent our money that we raised just doing soil sampling and stuff, but I figured we would just punch some holes into these things and see what we have. So
that's awesome. And I just want to reiterate too, is like we were targeting those conductors and we actually didn't hit the gold in the conductor. So maybe you can tell the funny story of how we were almost a granite kitchen company.
Yeah, sure. So as I said, we were targeting these conductive bodies in the first program, looking for nickel and copper. The gold was a complete lucky hit for us. At Ranger, we had a very nice conductor. We decided to drill that conductor. We hit nice sulfides, but it was all just pyrrhotite and other iron sulfides. And just from the way the conductor looked in the geophysics and the way we designed the hole, it looked like we could punch through the top of it at around 50 meters, and then we could maybe tag it again at the 300-meter range, just from the way the hole was designed. And this quartz diorite that we intercepted the gold in just happened to be in between those two zones. So we were punching down to see if we could tag it again at 300, and we were going through all this quartz diorite. And honestly, when it first came up, I was not happy with it. We were looking at the core; it just wasn't exciting looking. I joked with Jordan that it just looked like 140 meters or 170 meters of granite countertop that we didn't want to see. But being in a new area, and you never know what you're going to find. We sample everything from top to bottom. We'll sample base metals wherever we're seeing those sulfides, but at a bare minimum, we're sampling every meter for gold from top to bottom just to cover our bases, because you just never know where you're going to find the stuff. So, and that's what led to the discovery.
So it looks like you guys are targeting this big gold discovery, but you're also looking at copper. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So, as I said, when we flew the geophysics, we had all kinds of different anomalies to check out. The targets we drilled last year were Rogue and Ranger. Ranger was the gold discovery. And we ended up getting our permits for, mapping, sampling and stuff in October. So we really wanted to get the guys out there and see if we could follow up just mapping and prospecting around until the snow flies. So we were out there for 14 days. Our main focus in that time was Ranger, to really try to see if we could get a better handle on structure and just the different rock packages around there. But since we had time, we also wanted to send the guys out to check out any of the other anomalies that we hadn't checked out yet. So Rush was one of these anomalies in the Northwest. Nobody had been there before. We sent the guys out, and they was pleasantly surprised when they were coming back with samples that had, malachite staining and everything, which was really indicative of copper. And so when we sent all those samples in, we got, multiple samples that graded in between 0.5% up to 1.61% copper, with a little bit of gold and silver mixed in there, a tiny bit of zinc and lead. So we're more leaning towards a VMS target, something completely different than what we were seeing at Ranger. And we're really excited to punch some holes into it this year.
Okay, and in a recent news release, you started mobilization. Where are you going with that? What's happening right now out on the field?
Yeah, so Garrett is actually out in the field right now in the cabin. He's based out of Mississippi, which is about 30 kilometers from our site. But we are about to follow up on our historical gold intercept. We hit 73.5 grams per ton over 7.5 meters. And Garrett and the team are getting everything ready to drill any day now.
Wow. So Garrett, can you tell us what you're seeing out there, or what?
Yeah, so Mississippi is just a little resort community that's the closest community to our project. It has everything we need for a base. And we're just currently getting set up. So the drill arrived Sunday, and we're currently just mobilizing it out to site. We should be spinning within the next couple days here at our first location at Ranger.
Yeah, look, Garrett and the team mobilized this week. They're setting up the drills as we speak. But when we get out to site, we're going to focus on Ranger first. That's the gold target. They flew in there with a float plane, not a float plane, but a ski plane on the ice. And what they're going to do is fence around that original hole. And then once they're done that hole, they'll head over to Rush and see if we could determine how big this potential copper play is. And then we'll finish off with our Rogue mineralization, which had that world-class gold in the soil. So we have a lot of work cut out for the next month or two, but it's really exciting to get back out in the field.
So how many holes are you planning to drill, and how long do you think the program will take?
So we're expecting, right now I've got 13 planned. We're expecting up to 60 days for the program, with a little bit of wiggle room. Obviously, it may go a bit longer. but yeah, we just have to see. Like I said, we should be spinning in a couple days, and then once we get a week or two into it, we'll really know. We'll really have a better idea of the extent of the program. But 13 as of now, and then we can always add more if we're done in time.
So I wanted to ask, and Jordan, maybe you can tell me, with gold prices at all-time highs and investor interest in juniors starting to heat up, what kind of milestones do you think investors can look forward to seeing over the next even 6 or 12 months?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, gold is hitting all-time highs almost every single day. So it is bringing a lot of attention to Ramp Metals. And Ramp Metals is actually a really good leveraged play on gold. As a junior grassroots exploration play, like I said, we do have that one hole into this high grade zone. It's somewhere around like top 3 percentile in the world, that intercept itself. So what investors can expect is actually, it's really good timing for our story and for Ramp Metals, because as Garrett said, we've mobilized this week and the drills will be turning. So in a company like ours, there's a lot of action ahead. So you have drills turning, you have these, call it 10 to 13 holes that are going to be drilled across the site. We're targeting 3 mineralization zones, the priority being Ranger, which is our gold intercept. You have Rush, which Garrett mentioned. Rush is a recent copper potential discovery we found with 1.6% copper at surface. And then you have Rogue, which is in the middle of the two, which also found very high grade gold in soils at surface. So after this exploration program, you're going to have another field summer prospecting program that might last a month or two, that will lead into further drilling in the fall. So 2025 is a very busy year for Ramp Metals, and that should keep the excitement up for shareholders.
Awesome. It sounds very exciting. And thank you so much for joining us.